Hey everyone, my name is Stephanie Chorost, and I'm happy to be with you guys today. I conducted a research study involving the psychology of color. This topic drew my attention because I was curious to find out if color has an effect on anxiety, as well as the amount of research that has gone into this idea. This idea has a long standing on how it influences our perceptions that are not always obvious. Colors have qualities that can cause certain emotions in people. Even companies use marketing strategies of color to lure customers into their businesses. Research has demonstrated in many cases that mood-altering effects of color may only be temporary. But experts have found that while color has an influence on how we act and feel, these effects are subject to personal, cultural, or situational factors. What I wanted to know was when someone is experiencing anxiety, could colors play a role in enhancing a person's emotional state? My hypothesis stated when perceiving warm versus cool colors, participants' emotional state would become less anxious seeing warm colors having a more positive effect on a person's mood than cool colors. The purpose of this study was to test whether color has an effect on a participant's emotional state using warm versus cool colors as a stimulus. I hypothesized when perceiving warm versus cool colors, participants' emotional state would become less anxious than the impact of seeing cool colors. A sample consisted of 132 undergraduate students, whom 47 completed the survey with positive stimuli of warm colors and 85 completed the survey with negative stimuluses of cool colors. Each participant was asked to complete a State-Trait Inventory Questionnaire before and after inducing anxiety for listening to a short audio clip followed by a video of warm versus cool colors. This study concluded that being presented with warm versus cool colors, it didn't have much an effect. The post-questionnaire showed more of a significance than the pre-questionnaire, which may have to do with color preferences and memories that are associated with colors than participants' current emotional state. Past research studies. In 2011, a researcher named Tayoto conducted a research exploring the effects on color and the meaning of colors around objects and the environment. This research wanted to determine the effect on color and mood using a meta-analysis chart finding the impact on pleasure versus arousal. There was a potential impact on warm and cool colors on arousal and pleasure in different environments, which increased participants' mood. This study showed that color-mood relationship is determined by the overall effect of warm and cool colors on a participant's decision when choosing different colors. Another study found that color plays a key role on a person's mood. Over 200 individuals ages 18 to 50 were asked the first color to come to mind, followed by their favorite color, to determine the different effects colors have on mood. This was to investigate whether there was a potential relationship between color preferences and impulsive behavior. Participants were asked to detect their anxiety levels and impulse levels using a Beck Anxiety and Barrett Impulsivity Scale. This study concluded that color preferences are closely related to impulses and anxiety that affects the participants' color preferences. Another study examined the effects of red and blue on the emotional pleasure of Chinese people. The first experiment explored the effects on physical colors that red and blue had on emotion. The results showed that red induced positive and negative emotion, while blue only induced positive emotion. The second experiment explored the effects of verbal colors, red and blue, on emotion. The results showed that red induced only positive emotion, while blue induced neither positive nor negative emotion. The researcher concluded about the findings indicated that the influence on color on emotion is rooted in both natural and social associations. These various experiments have taken different approaches to arrive at a recurring theme, that warm colors significantly had an effect on a participant's mood over cool colors. These studies have all contributed to the hypothesis that viewing warm colors versus cool have a lower effect on anxiety than cool colors do. This indicates that when seeing warm colors on a spectrum, participants would feel calmer versus seeing provoking cool colors, which would indicate anxiety or perhaps make participants feel uncomfortable. For my research study, I wanted to see how the effect on color had on emotional state by inducing anxiety to the participants, hypothesizing that warm colors have a more positive effect on a person's mood than cool colors. I used various social media platforms to find volunteers, such as a Facebook exchange group, Reddit forums, and survey exchange websites, such as SurveyMonkey and SurveySwap, to gather all my participants. Methods. Participants included 132 undergraduate student volunteers, 61 females and 71 males. For compensation, all participants entered into a drawing for a $15 Amazon gift card. The sample size was based on an a priori power analysis to detect the effect size of f greater than 0.2, with a high statistical power of 0.95 and alpha of 0.5. Design. A 2x2 repeated measures analysis of covariance, and COVA, was conducted to determine a statistically significant difference between warm versus cool colors on a State-Trait Anxiety Inventory scale, having a warm-colored group and a cool-colored group. Participants completed a pre-anxiety State-Trait Inventory Questionnaire as well as a post-anxiety questionnaire after provoking audio was played. These scales were presented ranging from 4-point scales, from not at all or almost never to very much so or almost always. The within subjects variable pre-state inventory questionnaire was before induced anxiety and was then measured again using the post-state inventory questionnaire. Some of the within subject variables of anxiety exist within the person and not due to the manipulation of inducing stress in the survey. The covariance, being the average state trait portion, was a significant predictor of variance and did not interact with the two variables. Materials. The data was collected and recorded through Google Forms and took around 5 to 10 minutes to complete. Procedure. Participants were randomly assigned to the survey with warm or cool colors. At the start of the survey, participants gave informed consent, informing participants of the totality of this research study and that they were free to leave the survey at any time with no penalty. The next section asked for demographics: gender, age, and year in college. Participants were then asked to complete a State-Trait Inventory Questionnaire before and after listening to provoking sound to induce anxiety. Students were then prompted to watch a short video consisting of either warm or cool colors. Lastly, participants were instructed to complete one more set of a State-Trait Anxiety Questionnaire. After all surveys were completed, participants were able to enter their email to be entered into a $15 Amazon gift card followed by a debrief portion. Here's a sample of the self-evaluation questionnaire. This was a pre-state measurement before induced anxiety was heard. You can see here that the scale ranged from 1 to 4, with not at all being in 1 and very much so being 4. There were statements like, I feel calm, I feel tense, I feel strained, I feel upset, I feel satisfied, I feel frightened, and I feel pleasant. There was 20 questions in total in the pre-state questionnaire. Here is the provoking audio sound in which I played for the participants. see, that went on for 1 minute and 50 seconds. After the provoking sound, participants then had a self-evaluation questionnaire for post-measurement. These were statements like, I feel pleasant, I feel nervous and restless, I wish I could be happy than others, I look like a failure, I feel rested, I am calm, cool, and collected, I am content. And as you can see, there's 20 questions in the post-state self-evaluation questionnaire. Participants were then shown either warm colors or cool colors. Here are the cool colors that were shown. And here are the warm colors that were shown. Results. This research study concluded that cool colors did not show a significance for anxiety, which was the opposite effect of what we first initially thought. The State-Trait Inventory data was the same from the pre to the post-anxiety questionnaire, although warm colors had a reduction of anxiety, which was hypothesized. Being presented with warm versus cool colors didn't have much of an effect. This may have to do with color preferences and memories that are associated with colors than participants' current emotional state being assessed in the survey. Table 1 shows the mean and standard deviation of the pre and the post of the warm colored group and the cool colored group. Since my study had no interactions, these two line graphs are shown the time between the pre and post-anxiety state inventory between induced anxiety. Conclusion. The purpose of the study was to test if cooler colors would have a significant effect on participants' emotional state versus being shown warm colors. The results of this study provided insights on the possibility of colors having an effect on emotional state. This study contributes to the understanding from previous studies that colors can certainly have an effect. Depending on the participant, colors evoke different moods through color preferences and memories that are associated with colors than participants' current emotional state. Perhaps further research needs to be carried out in order to validate a greater focus that can be conducted by enhancing the situation of inducing anxiety. This study has limitations, as being in person could make the experience of inducing anxiety more probable by using more provoking ways instead of certain sounds to try to induce anxiety. Perhaps even manipulating the environment could increase the chances of truly inducing anxiety. Perhaps the participants were not fazed by the music due to their past experiences or preferences, but participating in the study in person could increase the chances of inducing anxiety. While this study did include access to individuals through distant locations and ability to have automated data collection, if given the opportunity, this study could be more significant given an in-person approach.